Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about all of the books I read in July. July has been like a very interesting month for me because I felt like I didn't read a lot, and then when I was compiling all the details of my July reads into my spreadsheet, I was like, wow, that was July? I read that in July? July was that long? Apparently it was, but July is now over. I'm officially going on vacation tomorrow. Life is great. I am so excited to just not be going to work for a little bit. But as always, I have all of my stats for the month of July, and then I'll talk to you about the individual books. July really was, backpacking on, is that the right term? It was really like continuing on my immense amount of reading from June. I didn't read quite as many books in July. I've kind of been slowing down this week just because I've been so tired that I've been going to bed at like 8:30. Tell me you're about to burn out without telling me you're about to burn out. I did read a total of 9 books in July, which seems like a lot, but I will say that there was quite a few of these that were very quick reads and almost felt more like one book. We'll get into that. So in the month of July, like I said, I read a total of 9 books. 5 of these were romance books, 3 of them were mystery books, and 1 was a fantasy book. I had 4 books that I owned and read physically, and I had 5 books that I loaned and read digitally through Libby. I also had 2 of these books being rereads, and 7 of them were brand new to me. I did, in the month of July, read 3,475 pages, which averages to about... that is incorrect. That is an incorrect stat. I need to edit this because that is not correct. I read 3,475 pages in July, which averages to about 386 pages per book and 112 pages per day. And I really had just a very average kind of reading month with an average rating of 3.6. So now that we have all of those stats out of the way, what books did I read in July? I don't know why I did that. So the first book I read in July was a reread, and this was Powerless by Sara Shepard. This is the second book in Pretty Little Liars. I'm doing a buddy read of this series with my best friend, and I had originally read this when I thought she was going to be reading it, and then she got super busy with work, didn't read it, and then so she finally finished reading it at the beginning of July, and then I was like, girl, I read this so long ago now that I need to reread it because I don't remember what happened. I reread Powerless. I just kept this as the same 3.5 rating. I said before, I'll say again, the Pretty Little Liar books are just very bingeable, and they're very no thoughts. I mean, like, I have a lot of thoughts, but I don't necessarily have opinions, I guess, is the thing. I feel very, like, indifferent about them. Like, I read a book, and I go, yeah, I read that book. It happened. I read those words with my eyeballs, and that's about it. Like, I don't necessarily think, like, it's good or bad. It just is. And they are fun, with how truly absolutely absurd the books are. So the next book I read was It Begins in Betrayal by Iona Whishaw. This I gave a 3-star rating to. This is the 4th book in a cozy mystery series. It's the Lane Winslow mystery series. It's set in BC, Canada in the 1950s, post World War II. Lane was a spy, and death keeps showing up at her door that she's involved in, and then she helps solve it with the police officers. It is what it is. It's always like a reliable, fine read. I read one of the books in this series like once a year approximately. It gives very Murder, She Wrote, Jessica Fletcher kind of vibes in a way, where it's like she lives in this like super tiny town, and then like people keep getting murdered and she solves it, and it's like, girl, how are there so many people being murdered around you in this tiny town? Like, everybody's gonna die soon. There's not gonna be anyone left in this town. But this one was like, it was like fun. We had kind of like an extra stakes kind of level to it. It took place in both BC and in England. There was kind of like 2 murder mysteries being solved at the same time. It was like, it was a good time. It was fine. It was fun. It was what it was. It gave me what I wanted, which was, like a mystery where relatively low stakes, because cozy mystery vibes, and I knew I would like fine enough, and that's exactly what it was. Reliable. Love to see it. I then read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I know, guys. I finally found the bandwagon and jumped on, okay? I did a buddy read of this with Melina, and we had so much fun reading this. I had so many thoughts and feelings. That girl was probably like, how do you have so much to complain about? But I also gave it a 4-star. And here's the thing about me, is that like I love to complain and I love to overthink things. So the fact that I was able to read this book and then complain about it, but like still have a really fun time about it, it gave me the same energy as watching the show Rookie Blue, where it's entertaining enough and good enough that you want to watch it, but it's also like flawed enough that you can have a really fun time just like kind of poking it apart. Even though, like, what I'm poking apart doesn't really matter and I don't really care about it, but I just like to poke it apart. Like, the fact that they have these magic pens, but, like, actual pens don't exist. If actual pens don't exist, how are magical pens called pens? Like, pens haven't been invented, so why would you call the magical pen a pen? Surely it would be, like, a magical quill. Would it not? So, like, these are the kind of things that I had fun just kind of pulling apart. But overall, like, solid read, okay? I was expecting this to be much more just kind of, like, middle of the road fine than it was, but I actually had a really good time with it. So, I am curious to continue on in the series because I feel like the general consensus is that, like, each book is worse. That's terrifying to think about. But I did start a new series in July. Look at me go. Yeah, Fourth Wing. Surprisingly, I'm a fan. I did think that that final battle scene that was happening, though, was a tad too long and drawn out. I kind of wish it was kind of condensed a bit more, because I got, like, partway through and I was like, oh my god, are we still going? Are we still going with this? But overall, really fun. Had a great time. Dragons. So after reading Fourth Wing, I decided I was going to read The Legacy by Elle Kennedy. Now, I know what you're going to think, that you saw my finishing series vlog where I was like, I don't know if I can possibly read another Elle Kennedy book. I don't know what's going on. Do I not like Elle Kennedy anymore? I might never read The Legacy. But here's the thing. My completionist little brain was like, girl, you will not be content in your soul if you don't read The Legacy. So I just decided to just get her done. And I read The Legacy. I gave it 3 stars. It was what it was. It was exactly what I thought it would be, which was just an entire book that was epilogue. I thought, like, the fun little creepy doll that connected the 4 stories was, like, a little fun, interesting tidbit thing to have. But I don't think you need to read it. It didn't necessarily add anything. If anything, it made me upset because it basically spoiled all the couples for the Briar U series, and I haven't read that yet. So now I know who all the couples are. Boo. But, you know, like, that is what it is. It's not the end of the world. So, like, I finished officially all of the books in Off Campus, so I can really just remove that from my plate and then decide if I want to read Briar U, which I think if I did, I'd probably do digitally, or if I want to go right into Campus Diaries, which is, like, the spin-off series. I think, like, the first book is, like, the daughter of the couple in the first book of Off Campus. I don't even understand how that timeline works, but I'm trying to decide if I want to read the Briar U series first or just go right into Campus Diaries. But I also don't think I'm going to be starting either of those series for a while because, as always, I need to finish reading more series first before I just start new ones, okay? Like, I can't be reading new series. I need to be finishing series that I'm currently reading. There's too many of them I'm already in the middle of. Girl, get it together. So I read The Legacy. It was. I then read Perfect by Sara Shepard, which is the 3rd Pretty Little Liars book. Also gave this a 3-star, again, because it was just, like, middle of the road. Like, I don't really have any strong feelings about this either way. I will say, yet again, the pacing of these books are insane because, like, the first 3 books of this series take place in the span of, like, 1 month. Like, the second book is, like, 1 week. This one was also, like, a few days or something. It's, like, absolutely wild pacing. And there's absolutely, like, insane levels of things happening in these books, but like in a great entertaining way. It's like, it's very teen drama. But I read this because my best friend discovered that she can absolutely zoom through these books when she is listening to them on audio. So I am now behind, and I need to read, what's the last one? Unbelievable? I need to read Unbelievable like yesterday, but I haven't. But I did read Perfect, and we had a fun time discussing the craziness of this series. I then was looking at my spreadsheet, my series spreadsheet. We all know the spreadsheet. And I was like, girl, you need to get the number of series on this down. What can you do? And then I looked at Libby, and I realized that volume 3, 4, and 5 of Heartstopper was all available at one time. It was the weekend. All 3 of the volumes I haven't read were available, and if I read all 3 of them, I would be up to date in a series. It just felt like it was meant to be. So I read all 3 of those volumes of Heartstopper in 2 days. It was a fun weekend. I gave like all of them 4 stars. I feel like my general thoughts on Heartstopper is 4 stars. I think the first volume was the only one I didn't give 4 stars. I think I gave that like a 3.5, just because it felt lighter. I feel like once you got into volume 2, the topics that they were like diving into felt more like fleshed out. They felt weightier topics. It felt deeper, and I just really liked how you got more characters and more relationships and just more kind of life in them. It will never be like a 5-star amazing fantastic series for me, but I do think they're like very like kind of heartwarming reads. They're very quick reads, and it was like very fun thing for me to do just one weekend, to just kind of zoom through them. I thought there was only going to be 5, but apparently there is a 6th one that will be like the kind of the finale conclusion that's will be coming out, I think, next year, and so I'll read that once it comes out, because I can. And then the final book that I read in July, or well, the final book that I finished in July, because I'm currently reading 2 other books, but I have not finished either of those, and it's now August, so they don't get to be in this wrap up. But I did reread Powerless by Elsie Silver. 4-star read through and through. I do find with my reread of this, it was kind of the same feelings as when I did my first read, which is like up until 2/3 of the way through, it's like 5-star for me, and then I just feel like the ending is a tad slog. Just the third act conflict and the getting back together part feels like it comes too far after the slow burn. Like, I feel like we slow burned and it was great. Then they got together, and then we kind of just paused for a little while. And that's where it's not the 5-star. And then like the ending conclusion, like, you know, character development, third act conflict, blah, 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 resolution. That was also really good. But just like this one portion of it where it's just like this final hump to get over near the end of the book kind of gets me. It hits me like a little brick wall. Just a tiny one. Like a half wall of bricks. You know, like I topple over it. I do make it to the other side. It doesn't stop me completely. But it is there, and it's a hindrance, and I have short legs, so I cannot hurdle. But like, other than that, amazing book. I love Jasper and Sloane, and I just like love Elsie Silver and her characters. I think they're like so unique and they're so real, and I really like how like all of the relationships feel very like unique and individual, and it doesn't feel too like copy paste cowboy romance to me. Especially this one, considering Jasper is not even a cowboy, he's an NHL player, so it's like a hockey cowboy romance crossover episode of the series. But I do love the series, and now that I've reread Powerless, it means that I can move on to the last 2 books in the Chestnut Springs series for the first time, which is Reckless and then Hopeless, I believe. So maybe if I'm a disciplined gal, I could finish Chestnut Springs before 2025 is over. And then I can finally move on to Elsie Silver's newest series, which I have not let myself start because I'm in the middle of Chestnut Springs. So that's exciting. That's my motivation. But that is all of the books I read in July. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like, give it a little thumbs up. Happen like me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. Do let me know, how many books did you read in July? What genres were you reading in July? What were your favorite books you read in July? Do you do a lot of rereading? I've been doing so much rereading this year, and it has been fantabulous. I love doing a reread. There's nothing better than comfort reading a book where you know exactly what's going to happen and you know you're going to love it. Honestly, rereading things have made me think about how I should reread Six of Crows, because I loved that series and I love a heist. But yeah, there we go, guys. I need to get going because I have to pack for my trip and clean my entire apartment because it's a mess. But with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.